Welcome to our Cartne video titled, How Do I Avoid or Recover from a Major Career Setback? Our guest today is DC the Brain Supreme of the amazing 90s group Tag Team, who rocked the world with their 4-time platinum hit, Whoomp, There It Is.
What's up, party people? This is DC the Brain Supreme of Tag Team, and I am very happy to be here with you guys today. And let's get this party started.
Welcome, DC. You have a pretty amazing story. Can you tell us some of the highs and lows of your experience being a #1 selling artist?
All right, I made a song long time ago called Whoomp, There It Is with the group Tag Team. And all of my, all of my upbringing comes from being able to play as a child and my parents forcing me to take piano lessons and play trumpet. And I really didn't like that, but I did love music, right? So I met Steve Rowland in high school. I had transferred high schools in Denver, Colorado. I went from Match Buff to Manual High School. And since me and Steve's last names are similar in homeroom, my last name's Glenn, his last name is Gibson, we sat next to each other. And meeting him introduced me to a whole new world of music because Steve had a band and they would play in the quad during lunchtime sometimes, like once a month. And I was like, I gotta be in that band. And I worked in the truancy office. And down the hall was Dr. Joyce Davis, who was the conductor of the Bolt Vibration Choir. And I would just hear beautiful music from the hall. And I would go down there and stand by the door and just listen. And one day she caught me, embarrassed me in front of her, the whole choir. She's like, "What you doing out there?" And I was like, "I'm just listening to the music, Miss Davis." She's like, "All right, going back to where you at." And I went after school and I said, "What I gotta do to get in this choir?" Then I was in the choir, and then what really did it was it was like in September, the first high school dance that they had was the first time I saw DJs with 2 turntables and a mixer. And you got to realize it's kind of at the beginning of hip hop. This is like 82, 83. I mean, not the beginning, but I grew up in the early years, and I became masterful at all 3, and went to Sac State University, started DJing all the frat parties, started DJing parties in the dining commons, and I met a guy in my dorm named Johnny Zanino, who would later become the producer of In Too Deep, Back to the Hotel. And me and him became best friends, and it was just an odd couple. I taught him about hip hop, he taught me about heavy metal. And at this time, I was starting to write lyrics. Because everybody, I just loved music and I wanted to be a rapper. And Z had bought a 4-track, or he got a 4-track recorder for Christmas. For those who don't know what a 4-track recorder is, just think, Fruity Loops or your DAW in a box, right? And they have 4 tracks, and you would use a cassette tape. If you don't know what a cassette tape is, it's a little plastic thing with tape inside, and that's what people bought their music on. And if you broke it, you would have to take a pencil and turn it and screw it and then tape it back together. Yeah. So he didn't know how to use it, and I was like, I'll figure it out. And my homeboy Cornell, he had a 808, so he let me come over and make like 10 beats, and I recorded them on a 4-track. And then I just spent the next month making songs and putting stuff over it, hitting pots and pans, playing little flutes, cutting and scratching, beatboxing. And I come up with 10 songs. And I send them to Steve in Denver, and he thinks I'm into devil worship because he's just hearing all this crazy stuff. But what he realized is that this dude made a song. We used to have to go to the studio and make songs. But studio, you're under the gun because you're paying for time. And if you're a young kid and don't got a lot of resources, that time is very valuable. So sometimes you might get it done. Sometimes it might not be as good. You have to be on point. So being able to have a 4-track changed the game. And Steve got a 4-track, and then I got my own, and then it was just back and forth, and we all got better. And we all were making songs. And fast forward, my senior year, I'm probably one of the biggest DJs in Northern California, DJing everywhere. And people are loving my songs because I make them and put them in mixtapes and just throw them in the street. So I come down to Atlanta, Georgia after school because I came down and visited Steve during Christmas. And once I came to Atlanta, Georgia, I knew that's where I was moving. And I was working on the job at CNN, and I was trying to get a job at CNN. And when I moved down to Atlanta, I got a job at the biggest club DJing the first week, right? And I pretty much was the head DJ at every big Atlanta club in the 90s. And that ability gave me, that gave me the ability to play my own music at the clubs. But I had moved to a whole nother region, going from the West Coast to down south. And what my specialty was, ever since I was like 18, I would order records from different regions. I would order records from LA. I would order records from DC, 12-inch dance records. I would order records from Bobby G's in San Francisco. And Tower Records was a good record store. They pretty much were up to date on everything, just like the other ones. But you get those white labels in all the little mom and pop record stores all over the country. So I'm knowing what's happening in everybody's region, and I'm bringing it to my crowd, and my crowd trusts me. And if you're a kid in college and you're from the East Coast and you get to hear all the new stuff, every party I'm at, you're there, and you're buying my mixtapes, right? So it was like that in Atlanta, but I realized us making music in Atlanta, people like the music, but that's the land of booty shake, right? Bass music. And I knew we had to make an up-tempo record to get out of there because we were hip-hop. And, I went to Steve. I said, look, man, we got to make something up-tempo, right? We got to make, we got to, when in Rome, act like the Romans. He was like, I love bass music, but that's kind of a hard thing for me. And I was like, just think Planet Rock. Do it your way. You know what I mean? Because to me, Planet Rock is the essence of hip-hop because that was the beginning of the b-boy era, breakdancing and all of that. Before that was Rapper's Delight and Grandmaster Flash and all that, but that was more song-based. But when it came to making everybody just inspiring a whole generation of different dancing and culture, Planet Rock started it. So he made a beat, and we used a sample Kano. Very important, I said that. And, I had a song called Boom There It Is was becoming like a party sing in the clubs. So, you just grasp on anything you can when you're young and you writing lyrics. I just made a song about partying. And we went to the studio, and that Thursday, I had a cassette. I went to work at Magic City because that's where I DJ'd, dropped it in. And to this day, that is the biggest response on any record I've ever played. And I've been DJing for almost 40 years. And my hubris as a young man, I'm like, okay, every song I'll make is going to be the bomb. So I kind of shelved one. And maybe 3 or 4 months later, one of the girls was like, DC, why don't you? Because Magic City is a adult entertainment club, strip club. So one was, why don't you play Whoop There It Is anymore? And I was like, I'll play it. Played it again. Same thing happened, but one of the record company reps, Alan Cole from Columbia Records, was in the house. Because back then, it was just New York and L.A. was as far as the big hubs for record companies. But they had regional offices all over the country, so they would service their people to service everybody in the city. And that's how everybody got records. That's how radio got their stuff. That's how it was like that rep would have 5 different jobs because they'd have to do radio, record stores, DJs, and anybody else, right, that they could think of to get that record out to everybody. And he sent it to Columbia Records. I'm getting calls from Columbia Records. I'm like, this is going to work for every label because I know everybody at all the labels. And everybody's talking to me, but like I said, New York, LA don't know what to do with something based in Atlanta. So I almost gave up. And young lady that worked for I think A&M or Mercury, Lisa McCall, she was like, you need to talk to Al Bell. I was like, Al Bell? Who's Al Bell? And for those who don't know who Al Bell is, at the beginning of soul music, there were three labels: Philly International, Motown with Berry Gordy, and Stax Records, who was owned by Al Bell. And later on, the year before we put Whooped out, he had put a record out called Daisy Dukes by Deuce. And that record went gold. So I give him a call. He calls me. And I'm like, look, dude, I got a hit record. I've tested it. Everybody loves it. Radio's playing in the music bed underneath because they didn't play rap back then. And you need to sign us. And he was like, okay. I was like, don't play with me, dude. That's way too easy. And he said these words I'll never forget. He said, brother, I don't have to hear the record. I hear it in your spirit. I was like, word. And he's like, let's agree to agree. Let's get this thing moving. And I gave my 2 weeks in Magic City, signed a messed up record deal, and in a month and a half, Tag Team was platinum. And the rest is history.
I know things didn't quite work out as you had planned. Were you under a lot of pressure to sign your record deal?
Yeah. I was under pressure in a different way. I wasn't under pressure by the record company and all that. Like, we were kind of messed up from the start because we thought we cleared the sample, but we only cleared one half of the sample, the writer side. And the publisher side we didn't clear. And we went ahead and signed the record deal without doing that. And the law firm I went to, our lawyer was a paralegal, and I didn't know that. So we kind of, to his credit, he was like, I don't know if I would sign this one, right? But at the same time, there was 5 other Whoop There It Is records out there because it was a party saying. So other people had the idea I had was like, let's make a record about this, right? Because everybody's saying it in the clubs, whoop, 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 whoop. And I knew I had to get that record out there or I would have lost the record. So I made the decision. Steve and I made the decision, hey, we'll get this thing out there and we'll just deal with it after, later. But we think we cleared the sample. So once we signed, the label was like, you gotta hurt. They knew they had a hit record, but they was like, back then, your single was set up album sales because that's where your true money comes from, selling albums back then, physical albums. So they was pressuring us to do the albums. And the only way we was going to be able to do those albums was just use tons of samples. And back then, Biz Markie, Just a Friend, was the first record to get truly blasted for using samples. Everybody before then got away with using samples. And then next was Vanilla Ice. And then after that, I came from that era for a couple years. Every artist was getting sued because they used samples. And that's what changed the whole industry. So they, not clearing that sample, they were like, if you don't pay us, we're gonna take these off. We're gonna make you, give you an injunction for you to take these off the shelves. And we had, I think Al Bell had put like 1 million singles out there, so we had to pull all of them from the shelves. So they had to, they had to make a deal, and that's where everything went south. Kind of, not really. That could be handled because Whoop There It Is was just selling so many records, but not knowing music publishing was to our detriment. Now, there are a lot of artists that got absolutely nothing. I don't even need to name no name, but pretty much every artist signs a bad record deal from the start. Or not a bad record deal, but not an ideal record deal. Not really in their favor, but in the record company's favor. And then, it's about the deal. Now there's a small segment of artists who sign who signed the right deal and signed it perfectly because they got good lawyers, or for whatever reason, right? So our fatal flaw is that we signed over, it was 50-50, 50-50 on the publishing, but we had signed over administration rights, which basically is signing over everything, right? Because what happens is when your when you make money on music publishing, there's somebody who administers it. So it could be Warner Chappell, it could be several companies out there like that do that. But when the record company does it, they get to commingle your publishing with your record sales, and with all the money that they spent to promote you. So now they just get to play the recoupment game with your music, with all aspects of everything you're doing except the shows, right? And that's what happened. And I didn't find this out till a couple years later, and by that time they were so in the hole because they tried to put a whole bunch of records out. Like Prince signed a Bellmark for the single "Most Beautiful Girl in the World." So there's all kind of little different side projects like that ate up all the money that we generated, and then the company went bankrupt. And I'm like, where's my money? And basically, when the company went bankrupt, another company bought the rights in the IRS auction. But they only bought the catalog for the record company Bellmark. The publishing was in a whole nother name, but they took the publishing anyway. And there lies in where one record company is fighting another record company, and we're in the middle. And when traumatic things happen to me, at that point I was just like, this is never going to happen to me again. I'm going to educate myself and figure this out. And I could have looked at the glass half empty and became an old, bitter rapper, right? But I looked at the glass half full, and I basically became a paralegal. I learned the language so I can know what they're talking about. I learned how emotion works. I learned what discovery was. I learned how to use Laser, I think. It's a legal, back then it was a legal site where you could go and get all the case study from other trials, other important court cases. So I basically got all this stuff together because I used to send all our paperwork, and whenever we go to a record label in LA, they would give us a big stack of just papers of every article, all the contracts, all the things, everything. And I just sent it to my mother's house, FedEx, and she put it in a trunk in the basement. So fast forward 5 years, I got all this stuff and I digitized it all. And I was just digitizing it for memory's sake, right? But it ended up being that digitizing it, that was discovery, right? And I had all this discovery plus the other stuff that I went to. So by the time, we had to go to trial or had to fight, I was prepared. And all this time, I'm hearing a Huggies commercial, and people like, I know you hear your Huggies commercial? I was like, I don't know nothing about it. Did y'all get paid? Yeah, we got a little bit, right? But the kicker was I was in the movie theater, and I'm looking at Will Ferrell dance on the table to my song. And the movie is Elf. And I got pissed because I didn't even know the deal was made. But then I had to push that to the back of my head and said, just tell myself, like, dude, you are now in a hit movie that will last forever. I was like, you got a forever hit record. It is up to you to go get your money. Nobody's going to give you anything, right? And that really started my business career as an artist, by putting my business together, running my life. I coined these phrases: run your life like a corporation, right? And okay, and I vowed nobody will ever take advantage of me with money again. So I learned finance. and I became a licensed commodities broker because I loved commodity. I was trying to find whatever I could find just by just learning, and that kind of wasn't for me because I was still DJing. I had to go back to DJing in the clubs, right? Because I spent all my money trying to lawyering up, but what you don't realize as a young artist is that you got minnow money compared to whale money that the record company had. So they just bleed you out. And I had to go back to work. But going back to work as a DJ is almost like show money for me. So it worked out. And I just really got my life together where I educated myself on all my faults. And I tell people, today that everybody wants to, jump on this bandwagon was like, man, they did you guys dirty, but boom, 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 boom. I was like, no, 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 no. First thing you gotta do is you gotta take responsibility for your actions. Cause I'm a grown ass man. I signed that contract and I'm gonna fix it, right? I'm not blaming I don't blame nobody, right? Cause first of all, nobody's gonna give you nothing. Don't nobody owe you nothing. And three, don't nobody care. Once you realize that, you are truly free to do whatever you want to do in life. And if I don't go through this experience, I don't learn all the things that I'm learning at this accelerated pace that I do in the 2000s, right? I don't learn voiceover. I don't learn how to become a great marketer. I don't learn all the self-help stuff that helped me achieve everything that I have now, right? So the record company that was the original record company A, which is the original record company, was trying to get record company B so they could have a trial, and they kept filing motion after motion after motion. Now you file a motion to go to trial, but you have to find some place where they'll accept it on the docket. And you've got district courts all over the country, and you try every single one. I think they filed 60 motions before the Eastern District of Texas in Dallas gave them a trial. And that was 2012. Now they get to go to trial, right? And I'm sitting there watching all this because they're just battling each other. I'm watching record company 2 just make deal after deal after deal. And I'm like, y'all got to take care of us. And it's like, well, you still owe the other record company. So they pulled that over when they didn't have to do that. But they did it anyway, so they couldn't pay us, right? And they had the trial, and record company A got it back. Now, record F company A wanted us to sign with them, but I was like, no, because y'all the genesis of the problem. I'm not signing with anybody ever again. And we waited, and then record company B lost, and record company B started filing an appeal. And you have the appeal process goes through different levels of the legal world all the way to the Supreme Court. And their last appeal was to the Supreme Court of the United States, and they denied it. Could you imagine? The Supreme Court takes on the tag team Whoop There It Is case. You know what that would have done promotion-wise? So, hey, but yeah. It's the marketer in me, right? I'm like, ooh, I would have done press releases. I would have built a website around it. I would have built a GoFundMe. I would have did all kinds of stuff, right? And it just, once they exhausted all their appeals, then they were like, well, if you guys don't, if you don't, because we had the writers, so we always get the writer's share of, we get royalty checks every quarter, right? And it's a living wage, right? So I was okay. But, the difference between getting a living wage and then securing your wealth for generations is a different story, right? So, but, I take responsibility. And they were like, well, if we can't have it, you can't have it. And they were trying to take what we had. And that's when I knew, that's when I took that big box discovery, went and found Melinda Gates down in Florida. Gave her that big box discovery, and that law firm, they were fans. And they figured out 5 different ways for us to prevail. And it went into arbitration, and we prevailed. And she was like, tag team gets half of that $2.4 million settlement, right? And the judge was like, whoa, 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 whoa. You guys sat back on the sidelines while this record company spent a lot of money. They spent $2.4 million. They spent $1 million trying to fight it over the years. So the judge was like, you guys can't get no money, but it goes against Whoop There It Is. So when Whoop There It Is eats up all the legal fees, then you guys start getting your royalty for the publishing. And so that's what's happening now. So I look at Whoop There It Is for me on the publishing side as a pension plan, basically. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's how you look at it. But if I don't be proactive and if I don't stay on top of it, that's how people's rights get taken, right? Because they could send you a subpoena, they could send you court documents to the wrong address, which they tried to do, and then they'll come and they'll say, "Well, hey, you guys got a day to turn in your stuff." Like, what are you talking about? I didn't even get anything, right? So now I got to go get a lawyer so I can combat their sneakiness. And I was on top of it though, and that is the key to all of it. And 2017, we prevailed, and I haven't looked back since. It was hard because you go to war, you come back, you lose an arm, you lose a foot, got an eye patch, but you're still living, and life is ahead of you. And we were always doing shows. We were always doing, you take advantage of the situation. So, like, we did the Geico commercial in 2021, but people don't know we did a Geico commercial in 2014. But they just used the music. We weren't in it, right? So there's always commercials. There's always something, right? And like kids know the reason Whoop There It Is so popular because we did a deal with Disney, which we didn't get paid for. We got a little bit of something, but we did this deal with Disney where we made a kids record. I'm the one taught Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse how to rap. It's called Disney on Rap. Tag Team was the first on it. Kids listen to that for a good 10 years, right? We were the first. We were the number one song, first song that you play when you put on a CD with Jock Jams. So that solidified us in every stadium all over the world, right? Then here comes Kids Bop in 2000, where Whoop There It Is the first on that album. But then they made a video with it where the kids are jumping around and have dance moves in a classroom. So now every classroom in America has Kids Bop, and all the kids, preschoolers, they wear them out to make them go to sleep. And first and second graders, they're good during the week. They get to dance on Fridays and have their little snacks, right? So because teachers would send me videos of those kids going crazy to Whoop There It Is. Then you had Go Noodle, which is an offshoot of that. So for 30 years, kids have been listening to Whoop There It Is in their form, in the kids' version. Fast forward to the Geico commercial, and a father's like, looking at his kid like, what do you know about this? And the kid's looking at him like, what do you know about this? And all those the work was done. And I took advantage of every piece of it because I had the wherewithal to take whatever I could take from whatever bad situation I had. Right? So that's why we're still here today. And me getting better at marketing and learning digital marketing and search engine optimization and joining 30, 40 different organizations so I can understand and get the answers that I needed to be the professional I am, that journey has culminated into 30 years me doing show. I'm on 3 different tours now. We do shows every weekend, right? I can wield TV appearances just by doing a press release, right? Like, I am masterful at digital marketing. I'm my own publicist. I'm my own booking agent. right? Because I had to learn how to do all this because nobody's going, nobody cares, and nobody's gonna give you anything, and don't nobody owe you nothing. So now I'm like, get educated, and now I try to teach the youth and young people, and they ask me because all my profiles are filled. I got a Google business profile, and it says I'm an entertainment agency because I'm an entertainment agency for Tag Team. And people call me every day. Can I sing for you? What I gotta do? Can you put me on? And I try to help people, but I'm not about to waste my time. So I was like, hey, I have a homework little packet. I give them homework. Call me back when you finish that homework. They never call back, right? And it's like people. I was like, you have no idea what I've been through, and I could save you a lot of heartache and pain with one little thing. And they just don't call me back because they want to be stars, right? And I'm not judging or knocking anybody down because I was the same way. That's why you should listen to me. But they don't know that because they want to be stars, and there's nothing that can curb that emotion, right? You're not going to get in front of that emotion and put some sense into a kid because youth is wasted on the young, right? So, it's a tough thing when I'm trying to tell people this is what you got to do, and they're like, "Well, don't I got to go to the clubs and don't I got to do this and don't I?" Because they want to be stars, so they think it's the blind leading the blind. But I still try, right? That's why I do podcasts every day. You know what I mean? So I can tell people because right now I'm masterful at a lot of things. I'm masterful at AI. I'm about to speak at MIT, about to speak at Harvard, trying to setting up a TED Talk now. I'm being trained because I get in organizations and I go find the masters and I ask them, please help me. What's it going to cost me for us to do one-on-one? And they do it and they teach me and I become masterful and I cut that learning curve to this. Now it's like, what you going to do now? Now it's the easy part for me, putting the work. But if you're not willing to put in the work, it'll never happen, right? And I can tell one of my mentors told me something the other day. I'd never looked at it this way. He said, the reason you can do all of this intellectual brainiac SEO stuff and you doing all the things, your story is so good because you can do all the things you can do because you did something that everybody wishes they could do, which is be a rock star. And you were able to have a hit record. And now there's pretty you took that tenacity and applied it to everything that you do. Which is not true, but from their perspective, it is true. Because once I did that, it seems like I could do anything. But I had to put the work in. You always got to put the work in. And if you're not willing to put the work in, it won't happen. And I love when it's hard because I know nobody else is going to do it. And now I get to go learn it. And now it's custom to me. And I've innovated a new way of doing things that nobody can even grasp. But I also make it practical so anybody can do. So that's my spiel.
That's an amazing story. What would you tell artists now so that they avoid getting caught in the same traps that you did?
So one guy called me, and his name's Pernell, and he was like, "Look, man, I love rapping. I'm a vet. I just got back from Afghanistan, and I use my writing the lyrics of rap to deal with my post traumatic stress disorder." And you talk about gangster rap, him writing about his foxhole stories and putting them into rhymes. I said, man, you could help a lot of people. You could help a lot of your fellow veterans by becoming a rap star, not a rap star, but starting a music career and being able to help people through the music, right? And I said, think about how many veterans there are like you. Think of how many people past wars there are like you that would love to support you, right? So I said, here's some homework. Hit me back in about when you finish it. And surprisingly, he hit me back in about a month. And he was like, "Man, I got it, but he's trying to explain it to me, but I'm like, that's good enough because you tried, right?" And I gave him what I give everybody, because this is the key to, if you this is the number one key to the music industry. Find any book on music publishing and learn that thing inside out. Read it 50 times, learn it like the back of your hand. And he was like, "Okay, but don't I got to go to the clubs, and don't I got to get this, and don't I got to get that, and don't I got to get the girls, and don't I got to do banners and billboards and all that?" I was like, "Nah, you ain't got to do none of that." And he's like, "But I still kind of understand." I said, "Let me tell you something. This is what I've done for you by you reading this book. I have given you the back end first. The front end is the money, the cars, the girls, all the money, the partying. That's the front end. But that fades. And when it fades, what do you have left? Do you have your rights left? You know what I'm saying? You butt naked in the street. Most artists are butt naked in the street when it fades. And they can't handle it. A lot of them commit suicide. A lot of them go into debt. A lot of them become bitter and blame everybody. Right?" I said, "I fully have confidence now that you won't get taken advantage of in the music industry. Now it's time to put in the work. The rest is to you." And then I give him the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. And he was doing real good. He was getting shows. He was doing all kind of stuff. And then the pandemic hit. And I haven't heard from him. So hopefully he's all right. But that right there is my only success story of helping somebody, and they listening to what I do and taking the steps, because I'm not going to waste my time unless you're willing to put in the work. But if you're willing to put in the work, I will give you everything I got. And that's what I've learned from all my mentors. Because when they show me something, like my mentor, Ted is my mentor. He is the master at Google. He worked at Google. He knows the internet inside out from a mathematical perspective, through algorithms. And he's my mentor. And he's like, "Look, you're only going to do this part. Hit me back in a week. I finished all that homework. He gets that today." You see what I'm saying? Now he knows, wait a minute, this dude is real. Because I just went to a conference with all the masters of SEO and digital marketing. And I talked to every last one of them. And by the end of that conference, everybody knew who I was. And the way they see it is, man, it is so cool that DC, the Brain Supreme Tag Team, knows SEO and digital marketing and is a master at AI. Like, I've used AI to be more productive in my music career, but more productive in everything. What would take me 6 months to do takes me 6 hours now. Because I choose not to let life pass me by. And I also choose not to be, if there's something new, I'm going to learn it. But the easiest way for me to learn it is join organizations. So when I try to help people, they don't realize that I've already done the work for them. I'm giving them the practical solutions to get to where they need to get to. And they don't understand that, they just don't understand that there are every artist's success story is different. There's 100 ways to become a music artist, right? There's 100 ways, but people don't see it. People think it's just one way, and that's why the blind leads the blind. That's why all these distribution companies is making a killing, because these cats think that, okay, I got my record out. Yeah, but you just got your record out. You can't, it's just sitting in air. But that's like somebody saying, "Yeah, man, I just finished my website. I'm gonna be rich now." It's like, well, it's not optimized. So first of all, you're just sitting there. You don't got no Google My Business profile. You don't got, you don't write blog posts. Like, there is a process to all of this to work the way you need it to work. And people are like, "Well, you could do all that because you're DC from Tag Team." And I'm like, hold on. I'm in essence in the same situation you're in the entire music industry. Because I could say that about Taylor Swift. Like, man, she's Taylor Swift. I can't do what she does, right? And from a perspective of just the surface layer, I can't. But I can SEO my way to Taylor Swift, right? I could be neck and neck with Taylor Swift through search engine optimization, right? So what are you saying? I'm a minnow in this music industry still, but I like where I'm at because I'm not trying to be a star, right? All I care about is making, all I want is mastery. That's what I want, mastery. So I can teach it to everybody else. I've been blessed. I make money. I don't have to be in the music industry. I'm an actor. I had to put in work to do that. I'm a voice artist. I really had to put the work in work to do that. Now, I can have a digital marketing agency. I can have a publishing agency. Like, all these things work together. So I'm self-sufficient. I have a booking agent, right? But I've got several booking agents. But I do a lot of the work. But I'll send it to them because they have expertise in what they do. But I go in and I'm a part of all. So I'm a part of the IEBA, which is International Entertainment Buyers Association. Because when I wanted to really start doing shows again, people were like, well, you only got just one song. And I was like, yeah, but it's whoop, there it is. It's like, yeah, but okay, cool. And I was frustrated. And the lady from Macon, Georgia was like, you need to join IEBA. That's where all the concert buyers are. I said, oh. And I go to their convention, show up with a big whoop, there it is t-shirt. I go to every conference and wear a big whoop, there it is t-shirt because people need to know who I am. Now I'm the magnet. Hey, what are you doing here? Well, we got a clean 90s nostalgic show and I'm just trying to get shows again. I go to this conference with 5,000 people, me and Chubby Checker, the only black dudes in there. Not only black dudes in there, but there's about 5 artists in front of all these buyers. And the reason it's like that because artists expect everybody to do stuff for them instead of going out and doing what they need to do. So I get in front of all these buyers, and now I start getting show after show after show after show after show after show. Now 30 years later, we're getting 20 to 30, 40 shows a year. It just depends on the year, right? And because I know SEO, I can create my own relevance to get in front of the people who can pay me. Which in the variety of things we do. We do parades. We do casinos. We do cruise ships. We do every form of entertainment because we are entertainers. But in the back end, I'm putting in work. Right? This year we're doing 3 NFL shows. I'm about to start doing a pitch for Major League Baseball playoffs. I'm just trying to wait for the seedings, right? Because I just did a minor league baseball game in Scranton, Pennsylvania. The sheer variety of things we get to do because we're clean and because I hustle. And no guts, no glory. And that's what it takes. So for me, to young artists, don't expect people to give you things, right? Learn how to do all these things. First find your lawyers. Find somebody who can help you. There's ways to do that's inexpensive. You can outsource a lawyer. You can go to Upwork, and there are plenty of lawyers that can look at paralegals can look at contracts. And when it's time to get a lawyer, you can get a lawyer that will probably want to help you because they just want to help you. And it's going to cost you, but it's not going to cost you what a big time lawyer is. And then you got to learn it, right? But never sign a contract without having a lawyer with anything in life. And there's too many ways to be successful. And I can't even explain them all, but those are a couple.
That concludes our video titled, How Do I Avoid or Recover from a Major Career Setback? We want to thank our guest DC the Brain Supreme of the 90s hit band Tag Team for sharing his amazing story and wisdom.